Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for coming today. This is the online webinar for the BUS 700 Capstone course for the MBA program at Post University. My name is Alan Kingsley. I'm one of the academic success counselors in the graduate program for the MBA. And with me today is Dr. Jim Loughran, program chair for the MBA program. Tonight we're going to be going over what you're going to be encountering in the course and giving you just a little bit of an inside look at everything you're going to be doing, and giving you an opportunity to ask any questions that you have along the way. Jim, you want to tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. I have been working with Post for 7 years, and I've been teaching online since 2007 at various universities, and been the program chair over a year now for the Capstone as well as other courses. And I work as a consultant as well, and I worked in business for over 25 years. And I have to say that I'm just so happy that you're here tonight. And some students feel overwhelmed with the Capstone, but coming to this course, I think you'll feel more comfortable. Most students feel like it sheds some light on a course that's different from other courses that you've had. And the purpose of the Capstone is to allow students to apply what they've learned in the program, no matter what their concentration is. And that's how it was designed. And the first thing I want to do is congratulate you for getting to this point. And you may or may not know this, but it is really an amazing accomplishment, because depending what state you live in, I think Connecticut's higher than the U.S. average, but about 40% of the U.S. population has an undergraduate degree, and depending what state you're in, about 8% has a graduate degree. And if you're crazy like me and want to go for your doctorate, you'll be in the 1%. And so just think that you've moved yourself from the 40% to 8%. And the only thing standing in your way is this course, and I want you to think that it is manageable, it is doable. We have a very high success rate in this course, but there's a few things you have to consider as you are planning for this class. And the first thing you've done right is being here tonight. And if you're listening to this recording later, that's perfectly fine. And if you have a pencil or a pen or something to write notes on or type in, I think it would be wise, because one of the early assignments in the course is we offer this video, or one very similar to it, as one of the early assignments, and we ask you to list, several learning, things that you learned by attending. So you may want to jot some notes down. If you can't, you can certainly listen to it again in the course or the recording that Alan's doing. It's all the same. But the big point to this is that there are 4 components to this course. First of all is that you'll be working in virtual teams, not for the entire course, but for an early portion of the course. The first 5 weeks you'll be working in a team. And I realize soon as students hear teams, like, oh, I've had terrible experiences, I really want to control my own destiny, and having to work with others brings a lot of additional stress. And although all those things can be true, it is a very important skill, because more and more employers are looking for it today. And so as you think about this, think about the things that you can do and you can control to be collaborative and respectful and innovative, and know your role. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. So one of the early things that you do is to understand your role on the team. And so I will say, with the virtual teams in this particular class, you'll be working one of the components of the course, and that is the simulation. And so as a team, you'll be learning the simulation. And what the simulation is an opportunity to run your own business. Now, obviously, it's not an actual business, but it's a simulated business, and you'll be selling sensors. And think of it as manufacturing, in a sense, it's kind of a business to business, and you'll be selling these products that will utilize what you've learned in the MBA, and they're really important business practices. So, for example, an important part of the simulation is the marketing aspect and learning how to use marketing principles. So in a sense, is, well, how much are these sensors going to cost? There's different segments of the market, a high end, a low end, a kind of the cutting edge technology one for those people that want all the bells and whistles. And then there's like an older version where, people that just want the basic sensor, not anything fancy, and so understanding what kind of business you want to be in, it's really all about, developing a strategy. And so the simulation is through a third party. And so you'll be given a link the very first week in an announcement, and that link will provide you an ID, and you'll be able to click that and you'll be able to enter in your information, put the ID in, and then you'll be on the simulation, and they'll learn how to navigate it, how to make decisions, and then you'll work in your team. And this next time, I'm assuming here that everybody is going to be in the very next term. Is that a true statement, Alan, as far as you know? Are all the students going to be in the very next term?
Yes, everybody should be signed up for this in term 2. Correct.
So we're going to have 2 courses running in the Capstone for term 2. I'll be the instructor for one of the courses, and then we'll have Dr. Menon, Prakash Menon, will be the instructor for the other course. And so we usually have about 5 students on a team. We usually average around 10 in the class. I believe at this very moment we have 10 in one course and 9 in the other, so it's going to be very similar to that, but that all can change. So at this moment, we probably will have 4 and 5 on a team in my class and 5 and 5 on the other one. With that said, that for the most part, we randomly select members to be on the team, but I will say I use a little logic on this, and I try, if at all possible, to mix up the folks. So we have people from different concentrations. So we might have marketing and innovation and finance and project management and leadership and so on. And if we do have a good array of students, then I'd like to mix them up and makes a stronger team, if at all possible. Sometimes we end up having a little bit more of one concentration than the other. But for the most part, we're pretty balanced. So we're very fortunate with that. And so among this team, you're going to, one of the very early assignments is you're going to determine, who's the leader on this team and how you're going to communicate. We ask you to use processes in Blackboard. So there's a discussion board in there and files and so on that you can move back and forth and communicate. Most students have meetings at least once or twice a week at a time that they decide, and they decide their decisions at that time. And just to be clear, what I mean by decisions is that there's a couple practice rounds just to get used to the simulation, and you're making business decisions. So as I mentioned, one aspect's the marketing decisions. How much is it going to cost? What segments of the market are you going to be in? And there's HR decisions that you're going to be deciding on. You would also decide if you're going to give overtime to your employees. Are you going to have a second shift, and so on? And then you will also, probably one of the most important aspects are the financial decisions that you make. And then those financial decisions, you have to consider the operations management, and that is, how much are you going to produce? So I hope you can already see that just like running a real business, you cannot make marketing decisions in a vacuum without considering the financial condition that your organization's in, and what markets do you want to be in, your overall strategy. You're going to be utilizing all the courses really in the MBA program, but I will say one of the most important would be Business 525, which is a strategy course, and you're going to be utilizing that also in the simulation, but also in the Capstone Project, which I'm going to talk about in a moment. So you're going to be doing these rounds, and the round is just a term that we use to express when you make your decisions, and they have to be done at specific times. And you'll see it in the class. We usually do it on Wednesdays and Sundays. There's 1 week where it's just on Sunday, but you have 2 practice rounds and then 5 what we call competition rounds. And so you'll be making those decisions, and you get various reports within the simulation. So you're going to see if you're profitable. You're going to see did you need a loan? Did you make really good financial sound decisions? You're going to be able to see what percent of the market share that you have. So we have 2 student teams in each class. You'll only be competing with each other in your class. And then there's 3 computer teams in there that we won't have students on because we only have 9 or 10 students. So we'll just have 2 student teams and 3 computer teams per class. So you do this for the first 5 weeks, and you're going to be, making those decisions, thinking about what you learn in your courses and how do you make these sound decisions, and really discussing it as a group. And so if you know what your roles are, I really highly recommend that you make these decisions as a team. You may have an expert in a certain area, but you discuss it as a team. You have one member enter in the decisions, and you make sure they're done on time. And then the very next day, I will give you feedback and Blackboard under the teams area, and then you'll be able to review your reports and then decide on the next decisions that you want to make. So that's the simulation aspect of the course from the team aspect. In week 6, you'll be doing it as an individual. So it's imperative, we talked about how important it is to be a great team member. It's imperative that you are involved. We do peer reviews twice in there. I will say that the teams in the Capstone, because students are at the end of their program, these are students that are near graduation. They're serious students. It is very uncommon that we would have a team member that wasn't engaged, that would be expecting the other team members to do their work. However, we have a couple things that we do to make sure that everybody's held accountable. And one of the things we do is the peer review. And the peer review is done 2 different times in those 5 weeks. And you'll be able to go within the simulation and you rate your members of the team on how collaborative, their quality of work, did they meet the meetings. There's little, marks that you give them. And if they score highly, like a 4 or a 5 out of 5, they get all their points on their papers. So as a team, you write papers about your performance as a company. And some students worry so much, like, well, what about if we don't do well, or we get ourselves in a hole and we make a bad decision? These things can all happen, but we grade you on how you're able to articulate where you are and what you're going to do to improve rather than your performance. So we want to take some stress off that, but you have to be able to articulate, as a team. You're writing these team papers. Basically, you're writing to your stakeholders and you're saying, here's some things that we're doing right with our company right now. Here's some things that we need to improve, and this is how we're going to do it. Just like any business that you run, that you have inventory, probably one of the most important things that you must consider is how much product you're going to produce. And the teams that struggle either produce too much, which is the worst thing you can do, or not enough, and then it hurts your sales because you don't have product that people would want. The first one, which producing too much, is the worst thing you can do because it ties up your money. And when you have a lot of inventory on hand, it's not selling, just like in a regular business. It hurts your profitability, and oftentimes it's the demise of an organization. So you really have to make sure you're making good marketing decisions, good decisions on profitability. And so you'll be able to look at reports. We'll talk more in the class on the type of reports that you look, but just like you're running your own business. And then in week 6, you'll be doing it yourself. And that's the second thing we do to make sure that team members are engaged. Because if we have a team member, and this has happened a couple times, that for whatever reason, they're busy at work or something's going on, they just feel like, well, I can just rely on the team. And then they get poor peer reviews, and then they're clueless when they do the individual portion. So that's done in week 6. When you already, have a full understanding of the simulation, or should have a full understanding, and then you go and do it yourself, and you do the rounds yourself all in week 6. It can be done anytime in week 6. And then you take an exam on your understanding of the simulation. So if somebody's not engaged, they get poor reviews and they don't do well on the individual simulation. The simulation, when it's all said and done, is about 30% of your grade. So it's not the most significant, but it's really meant to tie in, what your knowledge of the MBA. Depending on your concentration, you probably, let's say you're marketing, you may feel much more comfortable with the marketing aspects than maybe the HR things, and vice versa. So it's we understand that, and that's why it's so important to work as a team in the beginning to get a full understanding of that. I'm going to stop here in the simulation for a moment and ask if there's any questions on the simulation.
Sorry, guys, I'm unmuting everybody here.
No questions on the simulation? If not, I'm going to go on to the Capstone Project.
No questions here.
No questions here either.
Okay, chat is quiet as well.
Okay. Thank you. And so a couple things that are very different about this course that I want you to know up front. We do not have traditional discussion boards. Because we're working on the simulation, you're going to be working in the group area. So we don't have traditional discussion boards like you would do every week. We don't have a textbook in this course, because this course is all about application. You're applying what you've learned and you're creating something. And now I'm going to talk about what you're creating. So we have what we call the Capstone Project. And I don't know if Alan, if you can go down on my form a little bit so they can see this, but the Capstone Project, I don't know if you guys can see it now, is an individual project. So everything we've talked about for the most part has been team, with the exception of week 6 on the simulation. The project is something you do from the very beginning. You'll be doing it throughout the course. It's something you get to choose, and we give you some general guidelines, but it's a comprehensive project that you'll be doing throughout the course. It's a minimum 20-page paper. But before you get too much anxiety about that, you're going to be doing different sections of that paper throughout the course. So it's not something like, oh, hey, you got the simulation to do, and then, at the end, you got to turn this 20-page paper in. That's not the way it works. You'll be doing drafts. You'll be getting feedback from your instructor as well as the other students in the class. And I'll explain that in a moment. So this individual project, you have a couple things, a few things that you can consider with this project. The most common topic that people choose is a business proposal. And a proposal means that you have an idea to make something better in your organization or an organization you know well. We want this to be something you can apply. So ideally, it would be in a company you're currently working in. However, we realize folks may be in unique situations, and they may be between jobs, or they're not considering staying within any organization for a long period of time. So it could be something you plan on doing later in your career, maybe as a consultant or so on. But a proposal means you're trying to make something better, and you're trying to improve something in the organization. So it's an existing organization, and you either want to make it better because there's an opportunity. So just to give you some ideas, if you're, let's say, a leadership student, maybe you're considering things that you could do to make the organization more inclusive to people with different backgrounds, and to embrace diversity and attract people of various backgrounds in the organization, and do a better job of that. And my current course I'm teaching now, I have several students that have taken that topic because they feel like their organization has not done a good job, or they have an opportunity to make it much stronger. And so they would be using these leadership concepts that they learn throughout the program to be able to do that. If you're a marketing student, maybe you want to develop a new product to serve a new market, or modify an existing product to better serve a particular segment. Maybe you want to develop a strategic plan around social media and develop a marketing plan with that. If you're project management, I always say that's a very, that particular concentration almost fits for anything that's a project. So anything that you're planning, maybe you work in manufacturing, you have an idea to improve production, improve, total quality, whatever the case is, you can utilize your concentration, for that. And certainly innovation, you could be looking at, some a new technology, a new process, a common practice that you can improve either quality, efficiency, service, sales, whatever the case is. So think of a proposal as an opportunity, to make something better or take advantage of an opportunity in the market, or a problem is something that's impeding the organization today and you want to make it better. I would say, in my experience, about, anywhere between 85 and 90% of our students choose proposal. It doesn't mean that's the best. It's just because of where students work and the current jobs they have, they select a proposal. The other possibility is a business plan. And so if your concentration is entrepreneurship, this will be likely one that you would select, but you could be in other concentrations as well and select this one. But it means that you are opening up, a new organization. And and we've had people do anything from a restaurant to a micro brew to a consulting company to a nonprofit. I really want you to consider your passion. And as you're thinking about your topics, it's the first thing I want you to think about is, what are you passionate about? And what have you learned in this program that you think could make a difference in an organization today or in the future, or your future career aspirations? So think about that as you choose your topic. The first week, you'll be given an opportunity to discuss your topic and turn in just kind of a basic overview so the instructor understands. So likely tentatively approve your topic, and then in week 2 you put more depth in it, and they will formally approve it in week 2. But some considerations as you do this: number 1, I said, is passion. Number 2 is, do you have the resources available to you to be able to research it? We had a student a few terms ago, for whatever reason, they were passionate about Pepsi. And when we talked to the student, it's all they want to talk about, but their dream is to come up with a new flavor, and their idea was peppermint Pepsi. But they didn't work for Pepsi, they didn't know any research with it, they had no data, and so that won't get approved. You have to be able to have the resources for you. Now, some of those resources may be found through post library, but some of them will be in your organization or the organization you're working with. So you need to find out if you can get those resources. So if you're in charge of those resources, for example, if you are and maybe working in HR and you have all the information about turnover and diversity hiring and so on, that won't be a problem as long as you are approved to utilize those reports. But if you don't know, you need to know before you start. So we want to make sure that you have the resources available to you. Thirdly, is to make sure that you have the scope right. Sometimes we have students that are so ambiguous in their topic that we have a hard time trying to figure out what they're actually writing about. I think they haven't really made it concrete. And so they could write a 300-page paper, but we're only asking for 20. And so we want to make sure that that scope is right to get to the minimum 20 pages when this is all said and done. As I mentioned earlier, one of the major components to this is the things that you learn in your other courses, and specifically Business 525. And in Business 525, we go over goals and SMART objectives. And I might recommend to you, if you have any of the material left from that course, to think about those things, because we're going to ask you to develop some goals and SMART objectives for this business plan or proposal. There also has to be a financial component to this. So obviously in a business plan, you know what those things, you're going to have a P&L and starting costs and so on. And if it's a proposal, you're going to have some sort of expenses involved in this, some sort of return on investment. If you work for me and you had an idea to make something better, improve something, I would want to know how much it's going to cost and what's going to improve. What should I expect the improvement will be in a quantitative manner, so I know that I will get my return on investment for this idea. So the last thing to consider, and it's not a requirement, that you would have somebody in the organization, or perhaps if you're looking to open a business, somebody that knows something about this that you could go to. We always call those individuals an internal sponsor. And so I want you to just kind of brainstorm. Is there somebody in your organization that can help you get the resources you need, help you consider some of the things that you may not fully understand about this problem or business right now. Once again, that's not mandatory, but students that do get an internal sponsor find it very helpful. And that sponsor might be your immediate supervisor, or might be someone in the department where you want to make this change. And if you're opening the business, it might be somebody who would not be a competitor, but runs this same business in another state, another region of the country. So when it's all said and done, the purpose of this is to allow you to apply what you've learned. So it needs to tie in some way to your concentration. So as you think about your topic, think about, what in my concentration, how can I apply this? And that is something that, as we approve topics, we want to know your concentration, and we want to know how it's going to apply to it, and how you're going to be able to utilize some of the material that you've learned throughout the program in this business plan or proposal. We do approve a third topic once in a while, and that is, if we have somebody maybe that doesn't currently work in an organization, or they don't work in the organization they want to stay in, or their idea doesn't necessarily apply to their current organization, you can come up with a topic that could be used for any organization. For example, a strategic plan for social media, and maybe it's geared towards retail business, or manufacturing, or whatever the case is, but kind of focus on something. But if you're a marketing concentration, maybe you come up with this idea. So it's not geared to a specific business. You're not opening your new business, and you're not trying to make a problem better, except you're going to say, hey, this could be used by any organization in this field to develop a marketing, a strategic social media marketing plan. There's no right or wrong answer, but as I said, passion, resources, scope, tied to your concentration. Those are things that you should consider as you're making this decision. And the good news is you're here tonight, or you're listening to the recording, and you can reflect on it a little bit and think about the topic that you want to choose. I'm going to open it up, and I think Dr. Menon's here tonight. Dr. Menon, feel free to add to anything I said, and we'll open up to students as well.
Great. I'm going to go ahead and unmute everybody again.
Okay, Dr. Logren, I'm a little late, sorry, but yeah, I'm here to answer some questions. I think you did cover everything in detail here, so let's see if the students have any questions after this.
Okay, you were breaking up a little bit, Dr. Menon, but I think you said that you're all set, and you certainly will answer any questions that they have as well.
Yeah, any questions from the students? Let's take that first, and then maybe I can add comments after that.
Questions
Hi,
on
Dr.
the
Menon.
Capstone Project?
Hi, how are you?
Good. I don't have questions. I've had you before. I was in your previous course so I could prepare for the capstone. I believe I took one of your courses last year.
Yes, you did. Yeah.
Yes, I did.
So good. You reached a capstone level. That's a great achievement there. Congrats.
Thank you.
I think I also had Charles in my class. Charles, you there? And AJ?
Hi, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Well, thank you.
All right. Any questions? I think.
I have a question.
Go right ahead.
Okay, I'm looking at doing a consumer packaged good and just trying to reduce plastic and doing a more environmentally friendly option. And I was wondering, like, would you guys be able to facilitate a connection to a company that I would have some resources for?
So we don't actually, we would want you to do your kind of due diligence and find somebody in the industry to connect with.
Okay.
If you are not able to do that, we may have some folks in the program that teach either an undergrad and grad that might have connections. But for the most part, we want you to do your due diligence and start to do some research. And we've had students go and find, for example, we had, right now I have a student doing a very similar topic, but it's on straws. And so
Okay,
they've
cool.
gone and they researched and find out that the retailers or the restaurants that are particularly interested in these environmentally friendly straws. And so they were able to find their own research. So we're not expecting you to find an internal sponsor. It's not going to be part of your grade. But in your
Okay,
research,
that's what
if
I
you
was
can reach
concerned
out to
about.
somebody, it could be great.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much for clarifying that.
Let me just add to that, Chelsea. I'm sure if you're very interested and specific about what you're trying to do, and you know some companies that are engaged in that, you as a student can approach them, and most companies are open unless you go deep into their IP or something very confidential they will not share, but to be as a guide and help you with the process. I've seen a lot of companies, or people working in companies associated with the project are willing to help a student. So that approach is always welcome. You can try that.
Thank you.
Okay.
And I also want you to think about your topics. They don't necessarily have to be for profit. If you're passionate with something with a nonprofit or opening your own, we've had several students with their long-term goals is they have their own nonprofit. And so if you can apply your concentration, for example, we had someone develop a nonprofit, and they actually ended up doing this for women between the ages of young women between the ages of 15 and 20 in their community to teach them leadership skills. And this particular student was in the leadership concentration, and she worked with local churches and nonprofits in their community with women in need that were looking to advance their career and learn leadership skills, and felt that particular group was not, there weren't other organizations to help them. And so they were able to develop, this nonprofit, and she was able to apply her concentration of leadership. So sometimes it's kind of being creative with your idea. Any other questions about the Capstone Project?
No other questions from me.
The great point of this is that we're never going to tell you what to write on. We may tell you it's not clear. We may tell you that you have to narrow your focus. We may tell you that we don't fully understand the underlying problem. But for the most part, you're going to be able to pick something that you care deeply about. And that's the reason I really like this, because no one's going to say you have to write on this. One of the things also I think it's important for you to know, and I hear this often in this class, and I'm sure Dr. Menon does, we don't have busy work. You're not going to be doing these discussion boards, and I'm not saying all the discussion boards are busy work. I'm just saying everything has a clear purpose, and you're going to be very focused, but it's very doable, and we have a very high success rate. It just seems like a lot, but you're going to see it's done in sections, and these papers are done. You're going to be doing 5 pages here, getting feedback, 5 pages later, getting feedback, and so on. So I mentioned to you there's no traditional discussion boards, but there's something what I would call a quasi discussion board, and that is you're going to at different times in the course, and I think it's starting week 4, you would submit part of your draft and get feedback from your peers. And so we find that to be very helpful, because especially students that may not know your topic, sometimes they ask the best questions. And so you get feedback from them, but you also get it from the instructor, and we'll be giving feedback at different times as well. We also have a discussion board later on. We call it the reflection video, and it's probably my favorite part of the course. And that is, you can reflect on your entire MBA experience. What went well? How did you grow? What kind of challenges? How did you overcome them? And then what recommendations would you have for the MBA to make it even stronger? And we do look at those as we try to make enhancements to the program. And that one is a video, and you put it up in the discussion board. And I find it so inspiring, because we have a lot of students that they might be the first in their entire family with a master's degree or even a college degree. We have people that have overcome many challenges in their life, and this is something they thought they would never be able to achieve. And so that's why I find it so inspirational. And then one other MBA requirement is there's a national exam that you have to do. And when you hear exam, like, oh my goodness, I don't want exams, they stress me out. We don't grade you on the score you get on the exam. The purpose of this exam is that we can evaluate our program. As you likely know, we're accredited a program, and so we like to look at the macro data from a macro perspective, and look at our scores based on the different aspects of what is expected in the MBA. So you have some questions on marketing, you have some questions on finance, you have some questions on human resources, and so on. And you may have some questions on courses you never had. Don't get upset about it, because we're just looking at it like other MBA programs do. You know, how short are we compared to other programs nationally? And so we kind of look at those numbers and say, are we improving? Are we staying the same, you know, from year to year, term to term, and so on. So we just rate you if you completed it during the week 2 when it's done, you know, expected, and that's what we ask for. So don't get too upset. Sometimes I have students emailing, I'm so disappointed in my score. That's not the purpose of it. It's really more about our evaluation of the strengths and opportunities of the program, rather than anything with you individually. I think I covered everything I wanted to cover tonight. I hope you can see this is a very different course, but it has a lot of components that are going to allow you to apply what you've learned. And there are challenges in the course, but when it's all said and done, most people appreciate, especially with the project and even in the simulation, that they were able to learn and understand how to run a business, maybe in a little different perspective.
Just to add to that, we are acting as your mentors from Postfin, so do not hesitate to reach out anytime. And I do usually set up a weekly 10-15 minute conversations with my students or mentees, if I may call them, so that we really go through the progress of your project and or proposal, whatever you're writing, and make sure that you're on the right track and everything is addressed. And also, one other thing I want you to keep in the back of your mind is go through the rubrics, because we have different rubrics for different aspects of the course. So ensure that you understand the rubrics very clearly, so that you know what is expected of you, so that you can get all that into your work. Thanks.
And we both want you to be successful. I want you to know, we're not here to make it difficult for you, to weed out students at the end. Absolutely not. We are here to get you to earn that degree that you've worked so hard to get. and be able to apply what you've learned and feel good about the program when you're done. And that's what we're trying to accomplish.
Yep. We're here to support you, not, in any way negative.
All right, questions for us? Are you feeling better than you did when you came in? Do you feel like you understand the purpose of the course and how you can be successful and what your role might be?
Oh,
I
yeah.
felt like this presentation was really good and very thorough. I'm very excited to finish up and looking forward to being in class with everybody else.
Great. We're excited for you.
Yep, great. Terrific. It's a great achievement. Getting an MBA from the Malcolm Baldrige School, which is, an stands for quality. So be proud of that.
You have an opportunity to watch this video again, either through what Alan has available, but in the course, it's one of the early projects. So you'll hear these things again, and we just want to make sure that you understand how the course is organized and what you can do to be successful. Well, I thank all of you. I know it's summer and you probably have a lot of things going on, but it means a lot to Dr. Bennett and I and Alan that you're here, and it shows that you're engaged. And if you're listening to it later, we're just so glad that you're part of this course, and we're really looking forward to, helping you in this last, journey of your MBA.
Thank you.
Wish you all the
Thank
best.
you.
And we'll be fine.
Thank you all so much for attending.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Alan. Yeah.
Thank you, Prakash, for being here, Alan. Thank you for putting it on.
Hey, no worries.
My pleasure. And guys, any questions that you also had, please feel free to reach out to Emily, myself. The whole grad team is here to help you. We'll send a follow-up link with this, and again, you should see it in your class. So, okay. Well, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording now. But thank you all so much.
You're
I hope
welcome.
everybody has a great night. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.